Jaime, here talked about some attributes of a Chinese mother, which will also be like attributes of the African mother, based on our own evolution. Talks about the Chinese mother. Schoolwork always comes first for the in the Chinese home. In some other places, schoolwork might not come first. It might be activities or whatever, and in a way, age appropriate, right? Age appropriate, it's age appropriate, and sometimes it's also from educational studies. What is best for a child, at each age. I know when we lived out in California in Bakersfield, and my children were uh, well, none of them started from kindergarten, but my last started from class one, in primary one, primary one, out in California. We could see those in kindergarten. At some point in time, they sleep, right? At some point in time during the day, they sleep. They actually eat and sleep. And I remember my time in kindergarten also, as I grew up. This is way back in the 70s, right? Early 70s, And that was part of our curriculum. We went to school, we drank milk in the morning, did whatever they did, which I can't remember. I know in the afternoon we eat, and we didn't sleep in the class. They came to pick us, after we finished eating, But here in California, they had a time to sleep. They actually put up a light and the children sleep. It was part of the curriculum. And some of these come from studies, knowing that at this point in time, this is where you should take the children to. And at the time they're ready to teach those children, they pick up fast, right? Unlike here in Africa, we try to force a 4-year-old to know some things that is meant for a 7-year-old. We force them at 3 to know the thing that's meant for a 5-year-old, because we're not going through we don't have a study. We're not going through a process. We have not studied the growth process of children, so ours is just by trial and error. If you can get it at 3, let him get it. If you can get it at 4, let him get it. But like these other places, they've already studied, what a child should know at each age, and that's what they do. They make it age appropriate, right? But we force it, So it's you need to know your child. It's good if you can do schoolwork first. It's good, if that's what works for you. But this is what Amy was sharing. A minus is a bad grade. Yes, it's a bad grade. That would be good if you push your children onto excellence. What I told my children is, hey, I don't care about you getting A. I just want you to do your best. But I then realize the fault in me saying that. How do you know they've done their best? My requirement of them is do your best. But how do you grade they are doing their best? For some people, grading they are doing their best is that A plus. If you're doing A plus, they are doing your best. But all children are not the same. For another child, maybe A minus is doing his or her best. For another child, maybe the B is doing their best. But as a parent, the important thing is that you're ensuring they are putting in their best leg forward. They understand the need to put in their best, but then you just work with the result, and push them age appropriate. Right. That's what's important. Your children must be 2 years ahead of their classmates in maths. Yeah, it could be it's not there's nothing wrong in doing that as a goal, make them go through maths exercises, and try and help them, as much as they don't have any deficiency in learning themselves, right? I'm good at maths, and I didn't bring it from heaven. It's because my mother used to give me maths problem to solve. During the holidays, she's out and she gives me exercises to do, and I did those exercises, and the maths becomes second nature to me. I didn't bring it from heaven. I owe it to my mother that I'm a good at maths. I see a problem and I know the answer, right? But it's because I worked so many maths problem, it becomes second nature. We can do the same for our children. If they don't have any learning deficiency, they should be. There's nothing wrong in them being 2 years ahead, by just practicing. The best student in my class, in secondary school, when we finished in 1983, Kunle Ojolo. He was the best in St. Gregory's graduating in 1983. He was the best in Unilag graduating in 1988. I one of the holidays I saw him, he was reading the book for the next class while we're on holiday. I don't do that. I don't even do that till the exam period, But yeah, it was holiday for the next class he was reading, But and we saw the results. It came out well. It's doing well today, So nothing wrong in helping our children, read books ahead and grow, right? When I was a parent, I guess I was yet a baby. My children are all grown up today. I could have done better than I did with them, but we're making the best of it, but it's something that would work, based on my children, based on myself. If we can do that. You must never compliment your children in public, Uh, so that's what the Chinese model is, But I guess the important thing is it's not whether you compliment in public or in private, but you want them to understand the place of praise. Because sometimes we praise our children and they develop this perfectionist mentality, that begins to hinder their life. And I grew up with such. I grew up as a perfectionist. I was good at my schoolwork, and it was almost like I was loved because I was good at my schoolwork. And probably that's one of the reasons why I always strive to be good, you know. But we must let our children know they are loved regardless. If you don't do well in school, you're loved. If you do well in school, you're loved. The reason I love you has nothing to do with you doing well or not doing well. Right, it's good for you to do well, but I don't love you less because you didn't do well. I'll be there for you when you're not doing well. I'll be there for you when you're doing well. We must decouple the two because they then might be doing well in school, but they're not doing well psychologically, they're doing well socially, right? You need to help them. Academics is good, but the social life is just as important. The psychological life is just as important. Parenting is balancing the whole together, right? So compliment them, but compliment them in such a way that they don't think that you only love them when they do well, or they don't think that they don't have to listen to instruction because they are now arrived. Compliment them in a way that they know they still have to grow, right? They can be better than where they are. And to be better than where they are, they need to exert themselves. They need to practice, practice, practice. Yes, you're good at this level, but you can be better. Yes, you're better at this level, but you can be better. You can be better. You can be better. You can be better. And there's no end to being better, So that's important as we raise up our children, right? So, the other thing that she had there was that if your children ever disagrees with a teacher or coach, you must always take the side of the teacher or coach. Uh, yeah, out of respect, but it's a balance. It's just to help your children know the reason they're in school so they can listen to instruction, but you still let them know you love them. And if anything is, you might do that in public, but you still need to reassure them in private you love them. If anything ever goes amiss, you will take their side. You need to create an environment where your children can confide in you. They can tell you when something is amiss in their lives. When something is amiss in their life, you must build a relationship enough for them to confide in you, but at the same time, help them to be able to listen to instruction, for as long as there's nothing amiss, listen to instruction wherever they find themselves. So the only activities your children should be permitted to do are those in which they eventually can win a medal, So it's a balance, it's you don't you help them not to waste their time. There's no use wasting their time on things they can never grow proficiency on, or they can't be proud of themselves winning. You want them to focus their energy on the things they can win, they can do well, and will help them towards their future. So you help them balance their time. You can see more than they can see. You are outside the frame of their life, so you can see them more clearly than they can see themselves. So you can help them, balance their time, prioritize their time on the things that on the 20% of the things that move the 80% of their lives, right?